Welcome to part 3 of the Marvelous Masks recap. And when we left off last time, we had taken this last picture here, which was a smaller version of the original background picture, and we put a layer mask on it so that it fits into the little smartphone display. So in this particular segment, we are going to fix it so that the van hangs out over here and the mountains or canyon or whatever this is hangs out up here. So yours doesn't have to look exactly like mine, but what we're going to do is we're going to refine the current mask. And the awesome thing about using masks is that they are completely editable. So I can click on this mask and go back into select a mask, or you can, in most cases, double click, and that will let you do it too. So if I click here and double click on this mask, then it's going to open this up. And then I can go ahead and make changes to the mask. In this case, you want to make sure you're on the onion skin view. Now, there are multiple ways you could do this. So, for example, I could just touch up this mask. So I could click on this mask and just manually take like a white paintbrush and start painting like so, right? I could do that. I could pre-select. So I could like turn this mask off for a minute. And then I could kind of select this area using like a magnetic lasso or a quick selection brush or something. Just kind of pre-select this area. I'm going to do like a really bad job, but just so you can kind of see. I could kind of pre-select some of this, like so, and then turn this back on, and then paint inside the pre-selected area, like this. Okay, that kind of thing. Or I can do it this other way. So there's just kind of lots of different ways you can do this. There's no right way. But I'm going to double click on the mask, and then I'm going to make sure I'm on onion skin for my view mode and pull this back so I can actually see the edges of these. And then I'm going to zoom up. I'm going to take my magnifying glass and zoom up here. Now you do not have a magnetic lasso in selected mask. So if like magnetic lasso is your go-to tool, you can't use it in here. You would have to go back and do it the way I kind of described there a minute ago. However, any of these other tools are available in here. So the quick selection brush, if I want to add this in, I can, and let me go ahead and turn this up a little bit more. Then I can come over here and just start painting, and let go a little bit. And notice it's expanding my selection to include this part of the vehicle. Now, we don't want this shadow and all this, so I'm not going to go over this part here, but I'm going to come over here and try to grab, and see this went too far. If I were to turn this up now, see now we've got like road in there, and we don't want that. But that's fine. So now I can take a different tool. So like the paintbrush, for instance, on minus, and then I could start, make this bigger, and I could like paint these areas out. And then for the areas that are really close, I would need to use a hard brush. And I don't have a hard brush here, so I would have to come up and adjust my hardness on my brush to be way harder than what it is. I usually find it easier to like get too much out and then minus out with the small brush, just because you can see where the edges are going to be a little bit better. Now down here I need the tire sticking out. That's really the only part I need, and the tire is not very well defined, so kind of different ways to go about this one. You could just brush over it. I'm going to try the lasso this time. Now I want to just select a little bit. Lasso just literally, you just kind of swoop in there and grab it like so. The problem with your lasso is it's going to be really rough around the edge. So I might take a brush that's not totally hard here and just kind of touch that up. See how it kind of feathers it out just a little bit so it doesn't look quite so rough. To be honest, this isn't going to look perfect because it's on a shadow initially and we're not putting it back on a shadow, but it's fine. Okay, so when I turn this up, that's what it looks like. It looks kind of goofy, but that's fine. Put a little bumper in there to kind of connect it. And then just back out to the layer mask. Going to hit OK here, and now it's adjusted. So now we've got our little truck kind of going out there. But in addition to that, we're going to add this little tip top of our little mountain range or whatever. So I'm going to double click here again, zoom up close, and then put this part in. Whatever tool you want to use again is fine. I'm going to grab that quick selection brush, click up here. Look, that just kind of grabbed most of it. If you want to get this little piece too, if you have that, you can go for that as well. If you want to get rid of some of this fringing, just put it on minus and go around the edge a little bit, kind of up close. But, again, this doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. Just kind of make it look like it's popping out of that phone a little bit. All right, and then we hit OK, and voila, there we go. So now we've got that adjusted. We've got it popping right out of the phone. So that looks pretty cool. All right, that's instruction number 24, basically. Kind of the easy way. The more detailed way where you don't go back into select and mask is in the written instructions, but this is the easiest way. All right, next we're going to create a layer in front of all of this, and we are going to add the words Colorado. So I'm going to click on my type tool. You're going to choose Impact Font. I like that font. You can start typing it in and then choose it from the list. And size 250. Now this is not on your drop down, so you'll have to type this in up here. And then once you do, the color doesn't matter. Just click one time down here. All right. Now when you start typing, if your letters don't go left to right, it might be because this is set on centered. And if you don't want it to be centered, just hit this back to left real quick. So I'm going to hold down my caps lock here and type Colorado. Turn off those caps lock. And OK. And so now we've got our letters, and this should be at the very top of everything. So next, we're going to bring in the 3 Colorado image. So back out in your folder, the one that starts with a 3 in Colorado. And honestly, we don't need the whole image, so you could just take a little, we know we need a rectangular section. So, and I want to have the part that has mountains. So I'm just going to kind of grab this little section here with my marquee tool. And then switch to the move tool. Make sure you switch to the move tool. If you don't switch to the move tool and you point in here, you're going to move like empty ants. See how that is? Empty ants. So I'm going to press Control D. You have to make sure you switch to the move tool. All right, so let's do that. There we go. Don't need this guy. I'm going to just go ahead and close this one out. All right, and then we're going to position this over the top of the words. Now we're going to clip this in. I'm just going to call this, I think that was the 3 one, right? 3 Colorado. And we want to clip it inside the letters so that it looks like the picture is inside the letters. This is called a clipping mask. The easiest way is probably to hold down the Alt key and point at the line between the 2 layers. You'll see that icon there. It's like a rectangle with a down arrow. That's the easiest way to do it. However, the other way to do it is just to right-click out here to the right of the picture and create clipping mask. Now we've got it in there. And notice that I can move this picture around on its own. So if I take my move tool, I can just pick this up and decide what part of this picture I want to see. I can also Control T if I wanted to make this bigger or smaller. Okay, so that's kind of fun. Now we can, in addition to this, if we wanted to actually move the letters around, we'd have to be careful because it's kind of going to auto-select. So I suggest that you link the 2 layers. So to link the 2 layers, we want to connect them. So you click on one layer over here to the right, hold down the Shift button and click on the next layer because that way they're connected. And then you're just going to link them. So you right click and link the layers. And you're going to see these little chain links appear over here. And that means they're connected. So now if I pick on it, I'm going to move the whole thing around instead of moving the middle. Now if I needed to move that middle part, I would need to unlink them, which while they're both selected, I can just click on unlink and then all is well. And I could unlink it. All right, next instruction, number 28, we're going to add a stroke around the text just because it's kind of hard to see the border. Again, your stroke is the FX button, and my taskbar is not hiding here, so it's kind of hard to see. Can't quite get down there, so I'm going to pull this up. All right, so we're clicked on here. We're going to hit the FX button and then add a stroke. And there we go. A nice white stroke would be good. I did about a 2, I guess, on the example, but you could do whatever size that you like. Inside stroke, remember, as you go, it will start taking away the inside of the letters. So I usually go with inside because it keeps pointed edges. All right, I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Looks pretty good, and if we needed to modify anything, we could always just double click here where the layer style is, and it would bring it back up, and we could change colors or whatever. All right. Looking good so far. We're on to number 29, which is to drag in a section of the 4 hot air balloon image. So I'm going to open the 4 hot air balloon image, so 4, image 4. And we only need the top of this. We need the balloon and the basket, not the reflection of the basket, but just the balloon and the basket. So I'm going to take that marquee tool yet again and just kind of draw around. Oops, I kind of missed the top a little bit. So that I get the bottom of the basket down there. And this. And it's going to be close enough up here. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to undock this, take my move tool, and drag over. So now it's in there. Now, Oh, good. It did what I was hoping it would do. So sometimes when you drag things in, they disappear. And in this case, if you look here carefully, it's actually hiding. You just can't see it. It's stuck in this clipping mask. So right here is my balloon, my 4 balloon. It's right in there. It's just stuck inside this clipping mask. So if that happens to you, just drag all the way to the top and then either Alt and click right here to release the clipping mask, or right click and release the clipping mask. And now it's not pointed down inside there anymore. We don't want anything to get in between our 2 linked layers. All right, so now that I have my balloon over here, I'm going to position it on the right-hand side of my document. And now we're going to go ahead and select this and remove the background away from this balloon. Lots of different tools that we can use. The one that I'm going to suggest that we use here is going to be the magnetic lasso. The magnetic lasso goes around the perimeter of an item. So you go around it. With it, you don't have to be like perfect as far as where you click, but you do want to be kind of roughly where you need to be. So you're going to click once to start, and then you just start dragging your mouse gently around the edges. And notice it's putting down little points. Now if I was using a polygon lasso, it would put down points, and if I messed up, I could hit backspace. Same thing here. If you mess up, like if it goes over here where it doesn't need to go, then hit backspace, but then pull your mouse back. So each time you hit backspace, pull your mouse back farther. And if it goes the wrong direction, or if it's trying to go the wrong direction, you can click anytime to just put a point down. I always put points down in corners. So like right here is kind of a corner. Now right here I'm going to hold down my space bar so I can zoom up, and then come down here and click and click and click, and then I can start my dragging process again. Again, if it got off, I could hit backspace. It may get off up here around this blue area, so just be real careful. If it starts to wander, just click the button to put down a point manually. Okay, if you run out of room, just press your space bar, move it, and then put the little hand right back where you left off, and then continue on. And then you want to come right back to where you began. You'll see a circle and click. And now we've got that selected. I'm going to minus out so we can look at it. So that looks pretty good so far, but we're missing the basket at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. I'm going to let this just be marching ants for now. I'm not going to put it on a mask yet because I need to get the bottom part in there. So we're going to fake this bottom part. We're going to zoom up all the way to pixel level, and obviously we can't really tell. I mean, like there's some heads in here. I don't know if these people are hugging. I have no idea what this is. I don't know what's trees and what's actually part of the basket. We're going to use the polygon lasso, the polygonal lasso here. Now be careful, we don't want it to be on the first button. This says, if you let it pop up, new selection, which means if I start clicking, that selection just went away, right? That's not good. So I'm going to hit escape because I don't want that to happen. I want this to be add to selection, which means when you point here, you get a plus sign with your lasso. So we're just going to kind of follow these kind of lines here. They're probably trees, but we're going to use them as like little strings connecting this basket. And then I'm just going to kind of click around. It's not going to matter. This is going to be really little when we get there, get it on the page and masked. All right, so click, click, click. Maybe come up here and click around this body or whatever that is a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to come up and follow that line and just kind of come back down. You decide what parts you want to include in here. There is no right or wrong on here. It's going to be at the pixel level, so it's not going to really matter. And then we come back up here and seal this off. And once you're in the selection, you can just double click because it's all going to be added together anyway. All right, great. Now I'm going to press Control-0 so I'm zoomed out, and I'm going to hit select and mask and put this all the way up on our onion skin. So there's before and here would be after. Perfect. So that looks pretty good. If it didn't look good, if there was a part missing somewhere, you know, I could take like a paintbrush. If I was missing a color someplace or I'm missing an edge, I could paintbrush stuff in, but I'm not in this case. So I'm just going to go ahead and give it an OK. Now, notice it didn't put it on a layer mask because I forgot to change that down here. So where it says output, we're going to put it on a layer mask, and then now it will be hidden, and we have our balloon, and it's in position. All right, make sure you name that layer. And yeah, that's looking pretty good. So at this point, we are finished with instruction number 31. We've output this to a layer mask, and we are going to be ready to move on to the next section. Be sure to save, and let's get ready to move on.